Does the European Union needs an army? And why is today the best moment to be talk about this and to start this project? Hello and welcome. This is Beside News with me, the Real European. And in Beside News, we will talk about stories and news which are underrated in the mainstream media. And also, we will talk about news which are published from other news platforms, which we will talk about because we think that some news are likely that they are fake or that they are clickbait or that they are based on opinions, but this will be explained in some videos. And yeah, so let's move on to today's topic. Yeah, does the European Union needs an army? So look what is today this thing. So we have 27 member states and 27 armies. So every country is cooking its own soup and or like its own cookie, and they can't work so good together. So we see this in the NATO. So NATO, is the alliance of the United States and all, not all European states, but with some. And it's a military organization. So the five act of these organization that when one country is attacked, then all members will help this country. And the thing is that all countries of the European Union are in the NATO. So we could think that these countries work very good together in the terms of military things, but it isn't real because of such things like that. All countries have different languages. Like in Germany, we are talking German. So like in Italy, they're talking yeah, I don't know. Sorry. We have Spain, they talk Spanish. We have France, where they talk Francois, and we have, for example, also some states where is English very important, or we have like Poland with they are talking Polish. So some states, some different languages, and the other thing is that so not the language thing, but also that the thing of the tanks and weapons we are using, because every country in Europe is developing its own weapons, its own tanks, and everything, its own planes. So the problem is that the digital gadgets and also the things they are using are different. So they have different standards and other. So this means that they can't work together with the, for example, with the tank. So Germany can't work with the tank of the Polish because these are different things. So like they can't work with it because they don't know how to move it and so on, so on. So this is a huge problem today. But because of the conflict in Ukraine or the war, because there's two stories about it, and we will also cover these two because we have said that we will not have an opinion about some things. But because of the conflict or war in Ukraine, there are some changes in the politics, or some politicians are thinking now about more about the thing of an European army, so of an EU army, because today it's very hard for very much countries in the EU to arm Ukraine, because every country is also producing for its own the weapons for Ukraine. And the problem is when everybody is producing for its own and then sending it to Ukraine, that the process is very, very slow. We see that Ukraine needs today more and more weapons, but we can supply them. And also we can supply us ourselves because of this thing. But when we will work together, then you can build bigger bigger production centers to build more arms, to build more tanks, to build more firearms, and so on and so on. You know what I mean? But when we don't do this, then we can't also save ourselves, because our armies are too unpowered, and we have not too much men or women in the army, so that countries like Russia can think, okay, Europe, they haven't good armies and they are not good armed, let's attack them. But when we will work together, and this we must do this, because in the future we see that Europe's position in the world will be not so much powerful like today. But when we have one thing, so an institution that we have an army together, so 27 member states have one big army, then also another thing will be that we have not so much costs, because today the European countries are spending too much money for their armies. For example, Germany is spending for the next 7 years. Besides our spending in every year, we will spend more than 100 billion euros. But the problem is not only we are spending this, because also France is spending money in so much sums like that, and Spain and Poland. But when we do this together, then we can reach very more big things. But the problem is today not everybody politicians thinking about it, because when you have an army under the control of the European Commission, you know that the European Commission is like the government of the European Union, or it is it, but it has not so much power, because the member states, they haven't the power, and the EU is like their body. But this has changed in some years, and it could be changed, because in the future, when the countries will say, okay, we have an army in the hands of the EU, so that the EU will save us and our people, because then this power of your own army, you will give it to the EU, and this is a big thing, which very much countries are saying, no, we don't want this. So for example, like in France some years ago, there was also the thinking that when you give, because France has atomic weapons, so I hope you know that, and they think, okay, when we give that to the EU, then it's not our own. So it's for the France people very important to have these weapons. But in the thing, when everybody's knowing that Europe, so 27 member states, has atomic weapons, they don't produce it, but they have it, then this will be a very different message if when you know, okay, one country in the middle of Europe had atomic weapons, but all others not. So this are big questions, but there are some moves also from politicians to change something. And I hope, and also other people are hoping, that this will be a change, that some European leaders are saying, okay, let's talk about it, let's think about it, because then we can change very much things, and then also our position in the world will be a different one. Or we will be also not so important in the world, but we can save ourselves. And we don't need like the US or other states, because when you are dependent, then you must do very, very big things for the country you are dependent on. And the best way is to be independent. Thank you very much for joining in. I'm the European. See you next time.